Hey, we're back again. Me and Simon doing stuff. We look a lot better than we did last week. Spent hours working on this. So we're going to go through some more of Simon's pictures, have a chat about them and what we think of them. And I'm actually going to start with one of my very favoritist cars of all time that you've ever done. So let's share this screen here. You should probably know what it already is because it's this.
Yes. Yeah.
I love
I
this
knew that was coming. And you've
so
mentioned
very
it in
much.
podcasts. Yes.
I have. So I thought it worth bringing up here because we have mentioned this in podcasts. It is without a doubt. I think the one car. If someone said, "Oh, I will build you any one of Simon's cars," it is the one car I would get someone to build. Not just because it's a Volvo and I like a Volvo, but just because of everything about it. I love it. So tell us your thought process, and I'll just gush about how amazing it is.
I just wanted to hear the gushing. I was enjoying that. Thought process is I don't know what am I going to do this month for Street Machine, which is where this appeared. And it's funny, isn't it? For something with no rules, there's a few rules. So I think of a car, and then I think of what you could do to it, usually upon a theme of something. So this is very much a like 90s mini truck, sort of new wave air-cooled Volkswagen thing. But obviously it's a Volvo, which is a slightly ridiculous thing to do, but it seemed to lend itself to the Targa when I looked at it. That's one of those things from the era that was like one of the ultimate body mods was to Targa something. And it just sort of sits together in a really good Targa-y way, the way it leans towards that space in the middle, and it's got quite a thick B-pillar. And the color, naturally, that's the color you're going to choose, other than sort of pink or or a magenta or something. Graphics are scribbles. It's really easy to scribble when you've got a pen. Whether you'd recreate the scribble in paint would be really quite difficult, I think. And I know
you want to print that out, I think, as a sticker and do it as a vinyl graphic down the side nowadays.
Maybe I think you do it with marker pens. Maybe something like that. You could do it with a big paint marker, like the old graffiti pens you used to use. That'd be quite good fun to do. And the thing I know that you don't like about it, but I'm going to say it's got, even though you disagree, is those wheels. As much as you like to think they're really cool alloys, they're not. I didn't draw them as cool alloys. This is a budget build, assuming you can cut roofs in half. No. This is what happened. That is a pair of moondiscs that have got black vinyl applied to them to look like three spokes. There you go.
So when you were putting these Sentras on here,
they're not Sentras.
So this is a point of contention. When you're looking at like doing something like this, are you actually taking into account how you would build it? Because or how it would look once it was built, because I'm just going to point out that if these are moon discs with tape on them, they're going to look terrible in real life, but actually in your picture you can see how they might be moon discs with graphics or something on them,
because they are moon discs with graphics on them.
But really in real life you'd get yourself some proper Sentras or some similar such wheel, some Nathelli or something that would work wonderfully here.
I think you're right, but in my favour, those are well and truly tucked. Those wheels, they are right up in there. You don't need them to stick out. You need them to tuck. So any wheel could do that, and we're talking a set of wheels there that are pretty cool looking, for probably 150 quid all in.
You could just
new moon
wax some moon discs on some steels and be about your day. My worry with something like this, as somebody that was just saying about last week, obviously, about cars, being taken to the nth degree, like being complete with your idea, is that actually if you were to do this in real life, they may not look as good as they would in this picture. You kind of get away with it in this picture because you kind of as part of your art style, you lose details anyway. Whereas I think if you had a painted moon disc, it would be very obviously a painted moon disc in real life.
If this turned up at the Weekender at Goodwood, if we were standing there on the gate and this thing rolled in and we had our judging eyes on, I'd go, man, that is an amazing looking car. I mean, assuming I hadn't already drawn it in some other world. If I'd never seen it before and someone rolled in something as cool as this, hopefully with like some sort of cap on and a woman in a bikini in the passenger seat or something equally obviously 90s. But I'd look at those wheels and I'd go, those are just moon discs with like black vinyl on, and yet they look like cool 3-spokes for like almost no money. And I would be very impressed by that illusion. I wouldn't feel like I'd been tricked. I'd feel like someone had been really clever.
My argument with this that's going to go on, it's going to go back and forward, I think, until the day that Simon and I finally expire, is that I don't think if this amazing looking car rolled in with vinyl on their moon discs, you'd look at those moon discs and go, oh, they look like 3-spoke wheels. You'd go, oh, they were too cheap to buy any wheels and have just stuck vinyl on some moon discs, and it looks terrible. That's what I would think would happen.
What you have to remember here, is I can draw any wheel on it. It doesn't cost me extra if I wanted to put a set of Nothels on it. Not at all. No, I wanted moon discs on it. And if you did build it, I wouldn't release the rights to it unless you did it with the moon discs.
I would go around at night. If you build this car, and I would go around at night and I will unscrew your moon discs if you do this.
I've always wanted to do that. We had this conversation, you can lower 2 CVs really easily. I always wanted to go around and just secretly lower 2 CVs overnight, a little sort of guerrilla 2 CV lowerer.
Suddenly all the 2 CVs in the country are lower than they were. It's like when you get those pictures of like the factories and someone photoshops all of the cars that are in the car park to be lower.
I did that. I did the it turned out it was a relatively well-known picture in the end, but I lowered all the cars on a train coming from Wolfsburg. It was quite a difficult thing to do. But yeah, I did. It was good fun.
So, anybody watching this, again, you might need a little bit of bodywork skill, as we were talking about last week. Just chop the roof off a Volvo 4A. Doesn't matter which type. Paint it peppermint.
Can I just say,
stick some great 90s wheels on it. None of this moon disc nonsense.
And
I will stick some graphics down the side, and you can have all of the prizes until the end of time.
I don't want to be too YouTubey on this, but I believe there is a place for comments below. And maybe people could comment whether they think moon discs are a genius, an acceptable choice, or whether it needs expensive 3-spokes from the 90s.
Or cheap 3-spokes from the 90s, or just wheels that are wheels rather than something nailed on a steel. Anyway, I love this car, wheels or not.
Yeah,
it'll be up on. It could be up on bricks, and I'd love it. So
if you built it with Sentras, I would still talk to you.
Okay. Right, this. Now, I picked this for a very simple reason, and I picked this because I love the UK lowriding scene. I love the fact that you have your Chevy Impalas and 64 Impalas and all that kind of stuff, and the Monte Carlos, and we have some over here, but like that's the American lowrider scene. And there are some other oddities, but in the UK, we didn't really have them. So our lowrider scene built up around Datsun Cedrics and Granadas and Mercedes and stuff like that. So that's why I picked this. I'm going to ask Simon his thinking. I suspect it's probably a fairly similar thought process.
It is essentially a similar thought. It's that same thing again. Is imagine Simon Woolley, editor of Classic Ford, sent me a car for sale and said, why don't we base it on this one? And I'd go, yeah, all right then. And I look at it and I think, well, this is really classic. And in this case, it's a GXL model, which is the one with all the extra bits on it. I think the overriders and some extra badging and chrome and stuff. And it's, I think even the chrome around the arches is factory on it. And it's just, well, hang on, we got luxury stuff. What you don't want to do, your base car should, anytime you're building anything, it should be part of your inspiration, because you don't want to junk a load of good chrome, and you don't want to take a a four-door car and try and turn it into a rally replica. I mean, Subarus and stuff aside, but an older car. So it really is the car sort of said, I'm a luxury thing. I want to be all cool and luxurious. And the ultimate of that is probably a lowrider. And then you've got a kind of a set of rules that you apply with the lowrider, which is you've got some 13-inch wire wheels and you keep all the chrome on it and you give it a spangly paint job, and just, all the usual stuff. And interestingly enough, I looked a bit afterwards. As is often the case, you do a bit of research and are looking for something, but you don't necessarily find something you should have known about before until after you've finished the drawing. And that is that there is at least one lowrider Mark III Cortina in the UK, or at least there had been at points.
Okay.
If you do a Google search for Mark III Cortina lowrider, you'll find something that doesn't look entirely dissimilar to this. I'd also like to point out this is one of my favorite of my own illustrations, because it's actually really good, isn't it? And I say that because a lot of mine, with my own critical eye and probably with other people's, me, I'm a really positive person all of the time. I totally believe in my own skills.
No.
But this one I really like, and there's times that I do stuff and I can't even bear to look at it again, and I put some in there that I'm not proud of to see whether you chose them. I sent David 37 images to choose from. There's probably 300 and something on my computer of stuff I've done over the years. We could do this for a long time. And I sent a pretty random selection of images. I put some in that I would have liked to have you have chosen, but I put some in there that I'd have been like, oh God, no. But that one, I really like.
So the one thing that people need to know about Simon is he's a talented boy, but he doubts himself far too much. So I spend a lot of my time just yelling at Simon to do something, and he goes, "Oh no, I don't want to. I won't be any good." And I tell him, "No, it's going to be great. It's going to be fine." And then he eventually does it, and it's great, and it's fine.
Not always, but this Cortina, if you told me to do that and I'd done it, I'd be proud of that. And also, put it back on the screen. It's.
I like looking at your beautiful face.
And I don't. No one wants that. But it's the metallic on it is really effective on it. It's got a metal flake paint on it, and it doesn't always appear that well in when it comes in a magazine. It doesn't show up quite as well. But it's like a shiny metallic car, and I don't always manage to get that effect when I want it to, and that time it just sort of fell together beautifully.
It's nice when something falls together. One thing I do like about this, and I guess this is partly because of deadline, but it's quite a simple paint job. It's much more achievable. Like sometimes you'll look at a lowrider and you're just like, oh, that's an incredible thing, but there's no way on God's green earth I'm ever going to be able to afford to get that paint done. Whereas this is a nice orange metallic, but it works well because you've got the chrome and you've got all that stuff. It's sort of a slightly more simple lowrider. I should imagine trying to illustrate actual full-on lowrider paint could have been a bit of a nightmare.
I have done them. They do exist with panel painting. I've done like a PA Cresta as a lowrider, which I did the paint on it, and I even did a Gypsy Rose Impala inspired Viva. Which is on my.
Please send that.
It's on my Instagram, I think. You can see.
And what is your Instagram? Tell us your Instagram.
My illustration Instagram is at Simon R Mad.
There we go.
Yeah.
Should go and find that at Simon R Mad.
If only to
also
see
what
Gypsy Rose Viva.
I'm gonna go and hunt it down.
Which I called it the English Rose.
Of course you did. It makes complete sense.
It does.
Whilst we're here, Retro Rise Official for our Instagram. We're almost at 10,000, which means we can start spamming you with links in our stories.
Nice.
So that'd be nice. Yes, I like this. And I'm going to go. And I like the idea behind taking. But the thing is, that could be an Opel Diplomat. It could be any of like that era of luxury cars with all the chrome, a nice metallic paint job. Hydraulics are cheaper than air. Just want to point that out. And some 100-spoke wheels, and you're golden. So yeah, someone do some more. And the UK lowriding guys are pretty sweet. They have meets and they're supportive and stuff. I like them.
And they put on shows for you.
And they occasionally, they came to our show, and I'll have them back again.
Nice.
But yeah, build some more lowriders, people. They're great. Right, next we have this. Now, I put this in because it kind of links back to the first one, because it's got that 90s thing about it. And I'm just trying to make the 90s come back. I kind of missed this era of cars. I just want to point that out. I love this era of cars, but I was at the time probably more into motor racing, and I mean, classics is not the right word for what I was into, but sort of like my dad had a lot of cheaper older cars, and I liked them, but they were things like Wolseley 1660s and Rover P4s and stuff like that. So the old Auntie Rover. In fact, you can have a look at my lovely face now. I kind of missed this scene because I had Volkswagen and stuff before, like the back to 89, sort of that new wave era. So that I had the cow look kind of stuff came through before it really like kicked off into that sort of new wave thing. And I missed mini trucking like completely, because nothing that we were getting at the time. So we were getting car on car conversions and classic and sports car, practical classics, and we were going motor racing a lot. So like that whole era kind of passed me by, but it's at the time. But then looking back on it years later, it's just completely my aesthetic. I absolutely love it. It's absolutely perfect for me, and I can't believe I missed it at the time. So I'm gonna get us back to our image. So yes, talk us through this, Simon, and how we can build it.
It's obviously, or not obviously, it's a Mark 1 Transit long wheelbase. Now, a few long wheelbase Transits turned up. Not just one or two, but a few turned up in Germany, coming out of like fire service on estates and stuff like that. I think Bryn bought one, but there was definitely a few for sale, to the point that they were, common's not the word, but you could definitely pick one of these up in good condition. You probably know if the Volkswagens do it as well. Is every now and then someone will dig out a truck that's got like 4,000 miles on it, and it's been a fire tender on an airport or in a big factory complex or something. And there was a few of these Mark 1 Transits, long wheelbase, super hefty ones with the twin wheels and stuff, that did turn up for sale. And as such, we based our picture on one of those. It's insane. It takes, I mean, I love this thing, I really do. Not necessarily my illustration of it, but the concept of it. It's full on mini truck style, but you can imagine the size of this thing. It'd be pretty big. It would be the most amazing thing to turn up in. And I imagine that back area in it. I'm pointing at it as if it's going to somehow point at it on the video, but you are, thank you. I can imagine that being full of water at a show, just be, or full of like ice.
I think you should put a ball pit in there.
Yeah, ball pit. Why not? As long as the balls match the paint job. And the paint job.
So yeah, you can have three-tone balls.
Yeah,
it's part of the expression.
It's got.
See a doctor about that.
It's got, pink ones and green ones. Oh dear. Yeah. And the wheels are fictional.
Right.
They'd have to be
Brilliant.
custom made or something. They echo the era. They're not moondiscs with stickers on in this case, but I'm sure you could make something like that up. But I don't think you'd get anything in transit fitment that would have the right offset for twin wheels.
I don't think you could quite. They're not quite a match, but those Mercedes with that are quite flat faced with the little kidney carved out in the corners that are often on AMGs and stuff.
Yeah.
In the 90s, that would seem to be a possible one. But yeah, let's pretend the wheels exist.
Definitely a prime wheel that could have done it. But yeah, you could make something or adapt something or put dually wheels on it or something weird like that. But
what's going on with this back door? So are they like this, a standard, like this sort of weirdly raised back door?
Yes, they do. They have one back door. I think the doors are exactly where they would be on the normal car. It's just had the roof cut off, and then it's been turned into like a cool crew cab passenger area.
Yeah, I quite like that because it looks super custom. Like I don't know, like filled in from the sill and all that stuff. But it'd be even better if it's just standard. So we de-chromed everything.
Yeah,
we got a peppermint steering wheel because obviously we have a peppermint steering wheel. Color matching.
You've got to
stripe.
You've got to put the color around something. Even if you're building a car and you put like a green stripe on it, then you've got to look to put that green just somewhere else, even if it's the brake calipers or a stripe in the interior or the dials, or in this case a steering wheel. But you can't just really put one bit. You've got to put a bit sort of everywhere without overdoing it. In my opinion, that's the mark of a finished car or a realized concept, is to put a theme that runs all the way through rather than just something random. And you can see the colors go all through it.
I think that's one of the things that I've noticed over the years, is you get cars that they have like a good idea somewhere in there, like a particular flash of color somewhere, or particular little bit of styling, but then it's not carried through anywhere else in the car. And it's like, oh, that was a good idea, but it's not a realized idea. And that's fine. Like, I'm not criticizing people's cars that have that, but to get that 100% from the 90%, you'd need it to be somewhere else. And I notice that now more than I used to. And my car's definitely going to be like that because I've had too many ideas. It's just going to be like little bits of it all over the place. But I'm hoping with a little bit of effort and a little bit of thought, I can make it more complete. But we are basically up for time now, I think. So I'm going to leave it there. We will be back in the future. Now, we had a thought, which is we're doing this with Simon's drawings. We love Simon's drawings. We also love your cars. So if you're watching this and you want to watch two slightly overweight middle-aged men talk about your cars, send us some pictures, send us some details, show us what you've done to it. We can do multiple pictures. We don't have to do one. So we only do one because Simon only has one angle on his cars.
That's not true. There's lots of different angles. Oh, in the same drawing.
Yeah, in the same drawing.
Yeah.
If you
commissioned me to draw a front and a back angle and didn't mind paying twice, then I'd do both angles.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day I'll do that.
Yeah.
I do that with a Volvo and make you change the wheels on it. So so send us, so come on the forum, email office@retro-rise.org or whatever. Just send us some pictures in some manner, Instagram, all of that stuff. And we'll be nice about your car probably because we're kind of nice people.
What if it's got moondiscs on it?
No. Well, moondiscs are fine as long as I haven't slapped some gaffer tape on them and told it it's a new wheel. Idiot. Right. See you guys later.